Hi, thanks for joining me for our first mindfulness activity. Today's activity is going to be focused on taste. However, it doesn't really matter what you pick. You can be a beverage or some kind of food or something. Probably just not an alcoholic one, because if you're getting drunk while you're doing this, you may not get the whole benefit, being that we want to be in the present moment. So I want you to kind of see here. I picked coffee. That's fine too. Something like that's, something simple. It could be gum. Doesn't really matter. But pick something out and get settled in, and we're going to start. If you remember from either the videos or maybe you already know something about mindfulness, in using mindfulness, what we're really trying to do is attend to the current moment, and we're trying to sort of get so in the current moment that we are experiencing through our bodies, through our senses, and we are not as stuck in our thought processes or our judgments, our emotions, those sorts of things. And this is going to be really helpful down the road for you. So doing activities like this helps you to be able to translate all these skills, all these abstract ideas into real life. How do you actually use this? So as you get your item together and you're settled in, as I always do, we are going to start by taking some deep breaths in through our nose, out through our mouths. So just keep doing that. And I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. If you're congested or something, you can't do it through your nose, that's okay. I just want you to take deep breaths so that you can start to relax your body. If it helps you to close your eyes, do that even, but then for the activity, you'll probably open them back up for a time. But I want you, as you're getting relaxed and taking those deep breaths, I want you to just sort of like let go of all the worry, all the stress and the strain from the day. Just let it all go. Get into this moment. And I want you to pick your object up. So go ahead and pick up that object, and you're going to look at it and you're going to see, just in terms of what you can see with your eyes, what does this object look like? So in this case, it's a blue cup. There is a tan fluid inside of there, a little bit shiny. I'm just kind of noticing what I can see with my eyes. I see reflections, and I might pay attention to areas of shadow, areas where the light hits. This is all, again, what we can see with our eyes, what the colors are. And with our eyes, we can also discern texture oftentimes. Smooth, rough. So I'm trying to see it as if I'd never seen coffee in a cup before. Never seen it, ever. And if I had never seen it, what would I be thinking if I knew the words to describe it? What words would come to mind? That's what we're doing here. And when you're ready, shift your attention away from that and just sort of start to notice other things about it, like maybe the weight of it in your hands. How heavy is it? Or how light, What kinds of sounds does it make? What do you hear? Does it make a noise or not? You're going to pay attention to how it smells. Do you smell anything? Perhaps what you picked is even in a wrapper. I don't know, but just notice. Can you smell anything? When we get down to smell and taste especially, it's very easy to get judgmental very quickly. You might think, ugh, I hate that smell, or I love that smell. We might think, oh, disgusting. Or we might think, so delicious, refreshing. So now, that's a good one. So delicious. Delicious is more a judgment, right? Because are there any standards on what's delicious, really? I don't know. Not really, right? It varies according to person, according to culture. It's so variable. So it's one of those wide scale types of vague terms that we use, and it's very relative according to like whose holding it, who's using it, and how they intend it to mean, what they intend it to mean for them. So it is a judgment. Saying that something's refreshing, this is where it gets tricky. So refreshing can be a judgment, I suppose, because again, what's refreshing to one person may not be refreshing to another, but I think it gets closer to being probably fact-based and more fact-based than a term like delicious, because refreshing is more of like a descriptor. So, you can kind of see in a term like refreshing, you might think of something like water, for instance. If you think about what the qualities of being refreshing are, it might be a little more fact-based. So this is where you just have to kind of keep yourself in check and discern for yourself how you're using these words and how you mean to imply them and that sort of thing. And why does all this matter? Well, it does, because again, we're going to be translating this into other life experiences, which I'm going to talk about in a little while. But for right now, getting back to your object, you're just experiencing it. Like I said, if you haven't yet, taste it. As it's in your mouth, swish it around. Let it kind of go to different areas of your mouth. And I want you to pay attention to what that is like. So, again, the weight of it, the texture of it, the qualities that you experience as you, maybe you feel it going down your throat even. And as you're tasting, you're going to come up with descriptors. So you might notice, you might think to yourself, like, that's a strong taste, or it's a subtle taste. Maybe that it is, you come up with qualities like coffee beans, or creamy. So those are all things that you're sort of going to be paying attention to as you do this. So as you practice it, I want you to attend to all those qualities, knowing that it's very common for things like memories to come into mind. So we could have moments where we are sipping our coffee, practicing this, or you're tasting whatever you're tasting, and a memory comes in of the last time you had it, or how this time compares to other times. And as that happens, I just want you to pay attention, but then let it go. Just acknowledge it and let it go. Let it slide back out. And you're redirecting your mind back to this current moment and your current experience. Tasting what you're tasting, smelling what you're smelling, hearing what you're hearing, feeling what you're feeling, seeing what you're seeing. Just get back to that present moment. I'm going to give you a quiet minute here just to sort of experience your item. Again, attending to it as if you've never seen anything like it before. And as you're ready, go ahead and put your object down, put your item down, or if it's something small that you've consumed, that's fine. But just come right back to being aware, being alert. And I want you to, for a moment there, think to yourself what your experience was. So were you able to come up with facts about your object? Were you able to notice these things about it? How much did judgments come in, and how profound were they? Were you able to catch it when you were having a judgment? This is where it could be really helpful if you have someone to practice this with, that you guys can together have your experience, you quietly experience your item, and then you take some time at the end to sort of talk about what that was, and talk about whether you had any distractions come to mind, or any judgments arose. Processing that out with somebody is really helpful, because sometimes when you don't catch yourself on that, someone else will say, hey, you said that was really fun, and that's a judgment. So it's helpful to kind of keep each other in check with those things. And again, the reason why this matters is because as we're going to see, when we get into circumstances, other circumstances in our life maybe it doesn't matter so much about something we're trying to taste, but when we are having an intimate moment with somebody and we're kissing and we decide that we don't at all like the way they're doing that, maybe we have some kind of horrible experience with their breath or something like that. And although that can be off-putting enough that we have to completely stop, if it's something that's subtle or that we can get through, then being able to redirect our mind and be mindful in that moment and be present might get us through that. Whereas if we can't do that, we might be so fixated on the bad breath or whatever it is that there's just no possible way that we can enjoy that moment or get through it. So we can create some bad situations where we get anxious and we can't problem solve correctly, or we can't run through what maybe the best course of action is because we're just so caught up in our own distress around it. So I will continue to provide lots of examples. The best way to really integrate mindfulness in your life is to continue to just practice and practice and practice and talk about all the myriad of ways that it's going to come up in our lives and the ways we can use it and focus our attention. So we will continue this journey, and I look forward to